everyone. My name is Lauren Ahearn, and I am the Quality and Regulatory Affairs Associate here at ASN and also the podcast producer. So normally I'm behind the scenes, but today I'm happy to be leading a conversation with my colleague, Zach Kribs, who's the manager of our Congressional Affairs, to talk about the recent updates to the government shutdown. So welcome, Zach.
Thanks, Lauren, and happy to join you for this really timely podcast update. I think things move fast in DC, and this is a great example of one of those times.
Yes. So I guess to get things started, maybe just a brief view of how we got here in terms of the recent continuing resolutions and the impending government shutdown.
Yeah. So for those of you who have been reading the news, the fiscal year for the federal government runs October 1st through September 30th. And so technically the fiscal year that we're in, fiscal year 2024, started on October 1st of 2023. Now, in order to keep the government open, the government has to be funded by that date. But Congress elected not to pass final what we call appropriations or funding legislation in time for the start of the fiscal year, and have instead been relying on a series of short-term funding deals, what we call continuing resolutions. And so there's been a series of short-term continuing resolutions, the most recent of which were set to expire March 1st and March 8th. And that's actually last week we saw some movement at the end to extend the deadlines just a little bit further. And there's two deadlines we're trying to get to in a second, but extending the deadlines to March 8th and March 22nd.
Yeah, and can you go into a little bit more detail as to what these two separate dates are, which agencies will be funded, and kind of what's causing this split, if possible?
12 appropriations bills that Congress uses to fund the government, and these basically run the gamut of all the issues that the government is involved in. Typically, or in past years, Congress has elected to pass what they call an omnibus, which is a combination of all 12 funding bills into one massive, like multiple hundreds, if not thousands of pages of legislation. And when they do continuing resolutions on an omnibus, that's also kind of all of those combined into one. This Congress, with the new Speaker, Mike Johnson, he's been very keen to avoid an omnibus. I think there's some political reasons for this. I think by and large, conservatives feel like they get boxed into a corner if they have to vote on all the issues, and they want to bring them out a little bit separately. So they employ what they're calling a laddered series of deadlines. So some of the deadlines are, and these are kind of the less controversial bills, come first, and then some of the more controversial bills come on the second deadline. And so this current package that was passed last weekend has 6 bills with a deadline of March 8th. 6 bills set to expire on March 22nd. The 6 bills that are coming up fast here around the corner are agriculture, which funds our food programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Access Program, or SNAP, commerce, justice and science, energy and water, interior and environment, military construction, veterans affairs, and transportation, housing, urban development, and related agencies. So these are important bills, bills that typically our membership aren't as concerned about. Again, they do really important things, but typically ASN's members get most of their funding and concerns in the HHS bill. That bill is slated for the second date on March 22nd.
In relation to this HHS bill that's being slated for March 22nd, is there anything in there that addresses this physician pay cut that Medicare physicians might be facing?
So we haven't actually seen the text for this March 22nd bill yet. So I'm not quite sure what will be in that. I think that is something that a lot of DC is watching closely. However, there was a bill text that was released on Sunday, March 3rd, and this is part of the series of bills that are expiring on March 8th. And there is an addendum to this package that does partially address physician payment. So very much some good news in terms of having kind of faster action than March 22nd. Though, as we can get into a second, it's only partially only a partial fix for physician payment. So there's some lemon juice with that lemonade as well.
So, as our listeners are probably aware, on January 1st, 2024, a 3.37% pay cut contained in the 2024 Medicare physician payment schedule went into effect. How does this addendum that you mentioned that was proposed on Sunday, March 3rd, address this issue? And can you elaborate on why it's only a partial fix for this issue?
Yeah, so on Sunday, March 3rd, Congress released text for the initial six bills that are expiring, and they actually included a partial physician pay cut fix as in that package. So it's not the full pay cut, but it is a part of the fix. And so what we see is that since January 1st, 2024, physicians participating in Medicare have been experiencing a 3.37% cut through the Medicare conversion factor, and that's as proposed and implemented by CMS. In this bill, again, that we just saw the text of on Sunday, March 3rd, there is a partial relief. And so it builds on kind of a prior bill that Congress used to create some relief for this this cut of 1.25%. It adds on another 1.68%. So for a total relief of 2.93%. So for those of you doing the math at home, this is shy of a 3.37% cut that CMS has implemented. It gets just shy of 3% instead. In addition, physicians who are participating in alternative payment models, which is what CMS is trying to incentivize the use of, they have been eligible for a 5% bonus if they participate in such a model. And these models include, in the nephrology space, are kidney care models. Congress proposed to phase out this bonus, and it would disappear completely after 2025, and the bonus would be 3.5% in 2025. This agreement actually extends the bonus temporarily by adding a 1.88% increase for 2026. So again, the bonus will still go away, and you're still not going to get the full 5%. But in years 2026, you could be eligible for a 1.8 and nearly 2% APM bonus increase.
So this bill that was proposed on Sunday, March 3rd, the one that is meant to avoid the government shutdown, currently slated for March 8th. I know you said that the outcome appears good, and it looks like it will pass. However, knowing our government and how things seem to change every few seconds, what would happen if this didn't pass?
Well, the government would shut down partially. So the six agencies that are their funding is slated to expire as of this Friday, March 8th, would go under shutdown. Again, the six that expire as of March 22nd, including HHS, would remain fully open. But it does seem that this congressional staff are really signaling that this agreement is likely to pass. And I think there's some other key programs in here too that would probably be of interest to ASN members. So the Special Diabetes Program, Graduate Medical Education Funding, and National Health Service Corps. These are programs that have all expired, and this bill would kind of reauthorize them so that those programs can move forward this year.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the outlook is kind of positive. Hopefully, the government reaches some sort of agreement when it comes to funding so that we can stop this continuous roll of continuing resolutions and kind of reach a more permanent agreement. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. And maybe we'll have a better update later this month. So thank you for joining me today for this quick update. And if you have any closing remarks, please feel free to share them.
Well, always happy to join and talk about government funding. It's probably one of my top three favorite things to talk about. Jokes aside, I think a lot of I'll be really curious to see what happens with the passage of this package, and I think the negotiations for the HHS package that will include the HHS bill on March that's expiring on March 22nd are also something to closely watch. I think that's the majority of government funding kind of will rest in that package. And that's where we're probably going to see a lot more pushes for controversial policy riders and some more of these tough conversations that have threatened to shut down the government before really surface. So we'll be watching that space closely and look forward to rounding back with future updates.
Of course, thank you so much.
This podcast is copyrighted by the American Society of Nephrology. All rights reserved. All content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. This podcast should not be used in a medical emergency or for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition. Please consult your doctor or other qualified healthcare professional if you have any questions about any medical condition or before taking any drug, changing your diet, or commencing or discontinuing any course of treatment. Thank you for listening to this podcast from the American Society of Nephrology.